Driving a truck with a super heavy load is stressful. Yes, I know I am going slow. Yes, I will try to pull over to let y'all get past me as often as I can. No cussing at me, screaming at me and flicking me off doesn't help. I'm sorry I ruined your whole day by trying to. Hauling a massive load in a truck is an intimidating endeavor. I'm aware I'm moving at a snail's pace, and I'll do my best to pull over frequently for other drivers to pass. I implore you, refrain from yelling insults or giving me the finger, it doesn't ease the strain. My intention was not to disrupt your daily routine. With a heavily laden trailer, every bump and pothole makes it dance, and my control is limited. Perhaps it's time to accept the circumstances. I appreciate your understanding. Well, that wasn't very nice. Mobile, formatting, blah blah. This happened about 5 minutes ago. Still don't know whether to laugh or not. As a customer was leaving the store, I gave him the usual, "Have a great rest of your day." Rather than say, "You too," like most, the man turned. The unexpected parting just a few minutes ago, I witnessed a rather awkward exchange. I've been dealing with mobile and formatting issues, but that's not the point. As the customer was departing the store, I offered him the standard farewell, a simple, "Have a great rest of your day." However, instead of responding with the typical politeness, the man turned around, gave me an odd look, and said, "I hope you have a bad one." He then walked out of the store, leaving me with a mixture of emotions. Astonishing. Is it legal for landlord to force me to pay my rent through an online portal which charges a $10 transaction fee every payment? In California, by the way. There's no way this is legal, right? If I signed a lease for $600 a month, then it's really a $610 a month lease, which does not. Can a landlord legitimately require rent payments through an online portal with transaction fees? In California, I recently encountered an issue with my lease that has me questioning the law. My landlord insists that I pay my monthly rent of $600 through an online portal that comes with a $10 transaction fee each time I make a payment. Essentially, this would amount to me paying a total of $610 per month. I find this arrangement questionable, considering the monthly payment amount exceeds the original lease agreement. I'm worried that this could be a breach of contract, but I'm not familiar with the relevant laws. Am I right in assuming that this practice might be against the law in California, or is there a specific provision that I'm missing? If I'm correct, I'd like to know which laws or regulations I could reference to bring this to my landlord's attention, without having to pursue further action through a lawsuit. Update: Maryland, Mother's Protective Order is being modified in a few days. So we just got back from the courthouse. My father decided, in all his wisdom, to send me an email threatening to spank my ass until it turns red, after being served with the court summons, as well. Recent developments in Maryland's protective order laws. We recently attended a hearing at the courthouse, where our situation took an unexpected turn. A summons had been issued to my father, but instead of taking responsibility, he chose to respond with a threatening email. In it, he claimed he would physically discipline me until I sustained visible injuries, and also stated he wouldn't be appearing in court. As a result, a motion was successfully granted, which will likely prevent me from having any further contact with him. TLDR. My father received a court summons, but instead of responding appropriately, he sent a threatening email. The court has now granted a motion that will limit our interactions. The audacity to ask for a 50% discount after ghosting and not paying for products she asked to have delivered. CB agreed to purchase 3 items off of FB Marketplace and pay to have them delivered on Wednesday. After ghosting and bailing on the sale upon delivery, messages me too. The sheer gall to request a 50% discount after disappearing without making payment for the items she initially asked to be delivered. We had agreed on purchasing 3 items from me on Facebook Marketplace, with the additional cost of delivery on Wednesday covered by me. However, she suddenly vanished without making the payment or even acknowledging the delivery on the agreed upon day. 2 days later, she reached out to me, making an audacious request for a substantial discount on a different item I was selling, and also wanted it to be delivered again. There was no sign of remorse or accountability in her message. To the random guy who told me I was pretty. Thanks for telling me I was pretty even though I woke up late, didn't have time to comb my hair, decided to wear glasses instead of my usual contacts and wore the worst mismatched outfit I could find. Thanks for also holding the do. A stranger's kind word. I'd like to express my gratitude to the person who complimented my appearance that day. I was running on minimal sleep, my hair was a mess, and I opted for glasses instead of my contacts. To top it off, I chose an outfit that I wouldn't normally wear. Yet, despite my haphazard appearance, you still took the time to notice me and tell me how I looked. Your kindness was further demonstrated when you held the door open for me as I navigated through the crowded space, juggling multiple items. Your simple gesture and compliment had a profound impact on my confidence, reminding me that it's okay to not put on a perfect facade all the time. My narc mom wants to explain her narc rage blow-up to my kids without me present. My enabler dad said at their young age it will be less confusing if I am not there. She literally told my kids she never wants to see us again just a month ago. WTF edit. Thank you everyone. AITA. My mother's narcissistic tendencies are now threatening to compromise a potentially delicate discussion with my children. She wants to address a recent outburst in my absence, with my father's suggestion that my presence might confuse them due to their age. The irony is not lost on me, given that it was only a month ago that she declared she never wanted to see us again. What an infuriating situation. Edit. Thank you to all who provided support. I stood firm and refused to allow this conversation to take place, making no explanation necessary. Your words of encouragement helped me find the courage to make this decision, and I'm confident it was the right choice. Give me $25,000 to buy a home so I can stay home with my kids. Not sure if it's a choosing beggar just from this slide alone. But she's posted in the local Facebook groups as well, always looking for handouts, frequents the food banks for ingredients for her baking. A local resident requests financial assistance for homeownership. The woman in question has been reaching out to the community through social media groups, requesting financial support. A recently discovered presentation suggests she may be taking advantage of the generosity, but her story is more complex than that. She has been spotted seeking assistance from local food banks, often using the ingredients to bake goods. When presented with the opportunity to rent a commercial kitchen space at a reduced rate, she declined the offer. Some churches in the area offer free kitchen space to those in need, but she has not explored this option. The woman's decision not to utilize available resources raises questions about her motivations and priorities. My mill only refers to me as a boob whenever the baby settles in my arms or stops crying when he's with me. She makes a comment like, "He's quiet now because he can smell his mom's boob. He's hungry, he just wants mom's boob." It's like she cannot fathom acknowledging. My mother-in-law consistently overlooks my presence as the baby's caregiver, instead focusing solely on my role as a breastfeeding mother. Whenever the baby becomes calm or stops crying while in my arms, she makes snide comments like, "He's quiet now because he can smell his mother's breast," or, "He's hungry, he just wants his mother's breast." Her words suggest that she struggles to acknowledge the baby's deep affection for me and his reliance on me for comfort and sustenance. By doing so, she has diminished my role to that of merely a nourishing vessel, disregarding my identity as the baby's loving mother. This disregard is particularly unsettling. My mother just dumped holy water on me. I'm just beyond pissed. I was FaceTiming with my long-distance boyfriend and she just barges into my room and dumps holy water on me, ruining my hair, and says I'm possessed by a demon. I don't understand. I did all the right things in Lee. My mother stormed into my room during a FaceTime call with my long-distance boyfriend, disrupting the moment and drenching me in holy water. My hair is now ruined, and she claimed I'm possessed by an evil spirit. I'm fuming, but I'm struggling to comprehend her actions. Despite having achieved a degree, I'm currently unemployed, and I feel like her intrusion is a clear overstep. She should have at least asked me for permission before barging into my room and taking such drastic measures. I am 23. Want to use condoms, but my F23, does not want to have sex if we use a condom. My girlfriend uses a copper IUD for birth control and as a result feels like we don't need to use a condom. She also says condoms make sex less enjoyable and uncomfortable. I would pee. Am I the asshole for insisting on using condoms during sex? My partner and I have an age gap that's relatively small at 23 years old. We have differing views on how to protect ourselves during intimate moments. Since she uses a copper IUD as her primary form of birth control, she believes it renders condoms unnecessary. Additionally, she finds condoms uncomfortable and claims they negatively impact her sexual experience. On the other hand, I'm concerned about extra protection. I prefer using condoms to ensure our safety during sex. I'm willing to compromise on the pleasure aspect of sex if it means having the extra security a condom provides. Am I the one in the wrong for prioritizing protection over comfort? I had a sex dream about Tony Stark and now I can't stop thinking about him. We had shower sex. He was so tender. He loved me so much. I think the love felt so real and it made me want it so bad. He was going to build me a tower on the ocean where we could solve science problem. Tony Stark has somehow taken over my thoughts after a recent vivid dream. It was as if we were in a sensual encounter, and the way he touched me left a lasting impression. The dream made me feel deeply desired and adored by him, making the experience feel incredibly real. He expressed a deep affection for me and spoke of building a majestic structure on the ocean's shore, where we could collaborate and work through scientific puzzles together. I must admit, my perception of him as a character has undergone a significant shift. He's no longer the Iron Man I previously found interesting. The dream left me with an unsettling feeling that we were perfectly suited for each other. Reboot the mainframe. User. Jess, the internet is so slow today, can you reboot the mainframe? Jess, me, IT, sure, one sec. I go into my server room, bang on the keyboard loudly and come out. Jess, me, okay, I rebooted the mainframe, internet should be a little quicker. System restart. User. Jess, the internet is really slow today, can you restart the system? Jess, me, IT, coming right up. I head to the server room, give the keyboard a few forceful taps, and return to the main area. Jess, me, alright, the system has been restarted. The internet should be faster now if you move your laptop to the main room. This repetitive scenario occurs at least once a week with the same individual, who experiences poor wireless signal strength in the back room. Despite my previous explanations, they persist in attributing the issue to the system. TLDRA user experiences poor internet speed in a back room and asks an IT member to restart the mainframe to fix it. Edit: the IT member tries to explain the concept of Wi-Fi to the user, but it seems the user doesn't understand it. Update: this situation occurs regularly, suggesting the need for further education or clarification about how the internet works. U_ScienceFTW_ designs a glitter bomb for package thieves. With video, I found this in this thread and thought it was perfect for this sub. Like the title says, U_ScienceFTW. He comments about this in the thread, designed a glitter bomb disguised as an expensive package too. Found in this thread, I think this is a great fit for this community. In a clever design, U_ScienceFTW devised a glitter bomb in the form of an extravagant package, intended to lure in potential package thieves. This clever device comes equipped with hidden cameras, providing an entertaining spectacle for all to enjoy, and a GPS system to ensure the package's safe return, allowing the process to be repeated. It's not often that a pursuit of justice comes with such a visually appealing outcome. What strange thing did your parents say you couldn't do? I wasn't allowed to shave my legs or underarms. I was 14 and high school is hard enough without being teased for having hairy legs and armpits as a girl. I stole a shitty disposable one from my mum and used it to shave them. One restriction my parent had imposed on me was shaving my legs or underarms. As a 14-year-old in high school, I found it challenging to navigate social dynamics without being ridiculed for having excessive body hair, especially as a girl. In a moment of defiance, I secretly acquired a disposable razor from my mother's bathroom and used it to trim my legs and underarms. The next day, I carelessly left the razor in the bathroom, unaware that my mother had discovered it. Later that evening, I was sitting on the couch when my mother approached me, pulled up the nightshirt I was wearing, and confronted me about shaving my legs. Divorcing so wife can try everything, throw away, my 31M wife, 27F, of 2 years, together 7 total, recently told me that she wants to do orgies, get gangbanged, etc. As a minimum she wants this monthly. I can't be okay with this, so we are going to get a divorce. I love my wife. Unhappily in love. A man, 31, has been married to his wife, 27, for 2 years, sharing a 7-year history together. Recently, his wife expressed a desire to engage in extramarital activities, including group sex and gangbangs, at least once a month. Feeling deeply troubled by this revelation, he cannot reconcile himself to the idea of fulfilling her wishes. As a result, they have decided to divorce. Despite his deep love for his wife, he cannot imagine a future without her, and the thought of her desiring intimacy with others is a crushing blow. The situation has become so overwhelming that he feels unable to share his struggles with family and friends, adding to his emotional burden. The pain and despair he feels are so intense that he wishes he could escape this reality. My narc mother posted this to Facebook. And now for some good news. Yuck, I had a psych evaluation and I have a clean bill of mental health. My narcissist test was negative. Grin, the psychologist told me we are all somewhere on the spectrum of every mental illness. As pastor, my mother's narcissistic behavior exposed online. A recent Facebook post by my mother seems to be a peculiar display of her self-proclaimed mental health assessment. She claims to have undergone a psychological evaluation and received a clean bill of mental health, which she attributes to a negative narcissistic personality test result. However, her explanation raises some eyebrows. According to her, the psychologist told her that everyone lies somewhere on the spectrum of various mental health conditions, and even a well-known pastor has said that everyone is a little bit off. This statement somehow justifies her high test score, which she claims was a worthwhile experience for her own peace of mind. TLDR. My mother posted on Facebook claiming she's been tested for narcissism and passed, but it seems she inadvertently revealed her narcissistic tendencies. I start working as an escort from tomorrow because I can't afford my sick dog's vet bills. My old rescue dog has been admitted to the ICU due to liver failure. I have a 9-to-5 office job, but it's not enough to cover his vet bills. It is ridiculously high in my country, lol, so starting tomorrow, I'll be taking on a job as an escort due to unforeseen financial circumstances. My elderly rescue dog, who I've been trying to care for, has been admitted to the intensive care unit after suffering from liver failure. My regular 9-to-5 office job isn't generating enough income to cover the substantial veterinary expenses in my country. These costs have become a significant burden, and I'm struggling to make ends meet. Feeling cornered, I've made the difficult decision to begin working as an escort starting tomorrow. I'd appreciate it if you could understand my situation. I have no support system, making this decision even more challenging. This is a weight I wanted to share with someone, even if it's just anonymously. I appreciate your discretion in listening to my story. Feed on Facebook. A couple of years ago, my wife's mostly suburban granola mom's FB friends were involved in a trend posting 7 black and white photos, 7 days, no explanation. It all started feeling pretentious after a while, so being the MC jerk I am, I posted 7B and amp, WPie. The foot saga on social media. My wife's circle of friends, a mix of suburban and granola mothers, had been participating in a peculiar trend on Facebook a couple of years ago. It involved posting 7 black and white photos, 7 days, no explanation. At first, it seemed like a fascinating experiment, but as time went on, it began to feel pretentious. I decided to poke fun at the trend by posting 7 black and white photos of my foot. Whenever someone commented negatively, I'd respond by repeating the prompt, substituting no explanation with all capital letters. 7 black and white photos, 7 days, no explanations. This playful gesture led me to an interesting observation. Some people have a strong aversion to feet. So it took us a hot minute, but my so and I finally have a home again. We picked the keys up to a gorgeous new build 1-bed flat yesterday. So excited to finally have somewhere to call home again. Finding a new home after a difficult chapter. After some time, my partner and I have finally found a place to call our own once more. We recently collected the keys to a beautiful, 1-bedroom flat that we're absolutely thrilled about. It's a wonderful feeling to have a stable home, especially during these challenging times. I don't have a long history with my JNMIL, just my mother, in case that wasn't clear, but the few interactions I do recall have been tumultuous. At present, we're in a state of no contact, and my partner is on a vocal low contact boundary. I'm grateful for the kind words of encouragement from everyone who offered advice. Your support truly means a lot to me. Interview with Pizza Hut, and the manager said he would have to pay me less for a manager position because I was a female. Is this sexual discrimination? Texas. He disclosed the male employee's pay before telling me that even that I had more experience than the male employee. IW. Gender-based pay dispute at Pizza Hut. A recent job interview at a Pizza Hut location in Texas has sparked concerns over possible discrimination against a female candidate. The manager, who was responsible for hiring, claimed that he would have to lower the salary for a manager position because of the candidate's gender. This statement was made after the candidate learned that a male employee with less experience was being paid more. The situation took a more concerning turn when the manager revealed that even with more experience than the male employee, the female candidate would only be paid 50 cents less than him. This disparity in pay raises significant questions about the fairness of the hiring process and whether the manager's actions constitute sexual discrimination. The candidate reported the incident to the HR department, but they have yet to respond or take any action. It is likely that the female candidate is not the first person to be subjected to this discriminatory practice, and she is now seeking guidance on how to address this issue. TLDR: a female job candidate was offered a lower salary for a manager position at Pizza Hut in Texas because of her gender. Despite having more experience than a male employee who was paid more, she was offered 50 cents less than him. The incident was reported to HR, but customer included a photo of his dogs, and it legit made me cry. Been having a rough few days due to work and home issues. I was doing okay-ish, keeping it together until today. It all seemed to explode before I jumped on work, and I was just a mess all morning. I was assisting. A customer's heartfelt gesture left me overcome with emotion. The past few days have been a challenge for me, with work and personal issues piling up. Despite trying to stay composed, today's events quickly unraveled my fragile grip on calmness. As I was helping a customer update his information via email, his response caught my attention. A simple, "Awesome, thank you," was followed by a poignant photo of him and his dogs, accompanied by a reassuring message, "In case you're having a bad day." I was caught off guard by the raw kindness of the moment, and before I knew it, tears began streaming down my face. I couldn't help but share the moving experience with my colleagues at the office. Edit. I'm glad I shared this story, and it's lovely to know that some people can bring a smile to someone's face on a tough day. Update. I'm still smiling thinking about this customer's kindness. It's a great reminder that even the smallest acts can have a profound impact. TLDR. A customer's thoughtful photo of him and his dogs brightened my day and reminded me of the importance of kindness in our daily interactions. My grandfather get a call from the "We have detected a virus on your computer, people." Handles it well. Not sure if this is the right spot, but here it goes anyways. I was at my grandparents' house when the phone rings. My grandpa picks up the phone and says hello. About 10 to 1. A call from a dubious caller. I'm not sure if this is the correct place to share the story, but I'll go ahead and tell it anyway. While visiting my grandparents' house, the phone rang. My grandfather answered it, and after a brief conversation, he let out a loud exclamation and slammed the receiver down. We were all surprised by his sudden reaction, and he explained that the caller was claiming his computer had a virus. His response was a classic phrase often used to dismiss outlandish claims. We all burst into laughter after that. Just saw someone die and it was horrible. Was on my way to the grocery store and a pedestrian was hit in the road by a car. Someone performed CPR and I called the police, but it was too late and it was horrid. I know there was nothing more my partner and I could have done, but a traumatic event unfolded before my eyes as I was en route to the local market. A pedestrian was struck by a vehicle on the side of the road. A bystander sprang into action, administering CPR while I quickly dialed the emergency number to summon the authorities. Unfortunately, it was already too late, and the scene was nothing short of devastating. Although I'm aware that my partner and I had done everything we could, the what-ifs continue to haunt me. The possibility of having been quicker with CPR or calling the police just a fraction sooner taunts my mind, even though intellectually, I recognize that it wouldn't have altered the outcome. The haunting thoughts linger on, making it difficult to shake off the overwhelming sense of despair. Sad Tacos couldn't come over, and there was much rejoicing. As most people guessed, Sad Tacos was totally worn out on Sunday and just couldn't make it to the Super Bowl party. And couldn't we just come see her instead? DH held firm and said our plan was to be home. We were the unwelcome visit. There was no surprise that Sad Tacos was unable to attend the Super Bowl gathering, as her energy levels were at an all-time low on Sunday. And wouldn't it have been wonderful if we could have paid her a visit instead? The husband remained unwavering in his stance that our plan was to stay home, cook, and host a gathering. Sad Tacos was visibly disappointed. I prepared our own tacos at home, adding a dash of seasoning for extra flavor, and spent the day unwinding in a peaceful atmosphere. I apologize for the lack of photos, but it wasn't exactly a thrilling update. I didn't want to leave anyone in suspense. Kudos to the husbands who stood firm in their decisions, and I hope everyone had a similarly quiet and uneventful weekend. I, 29F, broke it off with my boyfriend, 31M. I was in a relationship for 7 years and not got the ring. My boyfriend's brother proposed to his girlfriend of 2 years this weekend and I was broken. I ended my relationship right then. I thought I would feel empowered, but a 7-year relationship ended abruptly for me, with no proposal or commitment in sight. Observing my boyfriend's brother, who had just proposed to his girlfriend of 2 years, was the catalyst for my decision. The stark contrast between their situation and my own felt like a crushing blow. Despite the desire to feel empowered and liberated, I'm now overwhelmed with a deep sense of loss and desolation. Witnessing the union of my partner's brother and his fiancée, coupled with the realization that my own relationship had failed to achieve a comparable milestone, became the final straw. I couldn't envision a future where I'd be surrounded by this family unit, still yearning for my own happily ever after. Has anyone else found themselves in a comparable predicament? How did you navigate the aftermath, and can you offer any insight into whether my decision was justified? Lost all respect for my mill in the process of leaving my husband. He's always had a bad temper and tend to throw things or kick walls and doors when he's upset. This time he aimed his anger at me and I ended up in a headlock trying to protect my daughter from him. I told M. The relationship with my partner has disintegrated due to his volatile temper, which has consistently manifested in destructive behavior such as throwing objects and violently kicking or hitting doors when he's angry. This latest incident escalated when he turned his aggression towards me, forcing me into a headlock as I desperately tried to shield my daughter from his wrath. Following the incident, I confided in my mother-in-law, expecting her to offer support and understanding. Instead, she downplayed the severity of the situation, stating that his explosive nature is a small price to pay for his future success. Her response left me appalled and dismayed. In an effort to protect myself and my daughter, I filed a police report, although I ultimately chose not to press charges. The decision was complicated by our financial situation, as my partner was my primary source of income. Furthermore, a recent and devastating development has left us financially destitute, as he drained our bank account. This experience has been a harsh wake-up call, and I have made a firm decision to never again find myself in a situation that puts me and my daughter at risk. Edit TLDR Update 11Y, oh son wants to live with me. Please help. Here are the basics. My wife and I divorced 5 years ago. Her son, my stepson, 16 at the time, and our daughter, 10 at the time, decided to stay with me. Our youngest, biological son age 7, wanted to stay with her so she wouldn't. My 11-year-old son is seeking my residence. Here's the context. My wife and I separated 5 years ago, resulting in my stepson, 16 at the time, and our daughter, 10 at the time, choosing to stay with me. Conversely, our youngest biological son, then 7 years old, wanted to reside with her to alleviate her distress. Presently, I reside in a different state than my ex-wife. Our youngest son, now 11, is struggling and yearns to live with me. He will be visiting me this summer and does not wish to return to his mother's residence. I'm at a crossroads and need guidance. Should I initiate a custody battle in the state where I reside, Mississippi, or in the state where my ex-wife resides, Iowa? Our divorce proceedings took place in Missouri. I'm utterly bewildered by this situation and could use advice. TIFU by shooting myself through the hand with a 9mm, so I was cleaning my 9mm M9A1 and loaded it before I was gonna put it up. I later on forgot I had loaded it and while bored home alone decided to see if I liked the weight of the trigger. I racked the slide to cock it, then. My carelessness nearly cost me my hand. While prepping my 9mm M9A1 for storage, I loaded it before setting it aside. Later, with nothing but time to kill and no one around, I got curious about the feel of its trigger. I pulled the slide back to engage the hammer, but my inattention led me down a treacherous path. Before I knew it, a bullet had torn through my left hand, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Panic set in as I realized the gravity of my mistake. Summoning the courage to call for help, I dialed 911 and waited for the paramedics to arrive. Once at the hospital, doctors put me under general anesthesia to carefully extract the bone fragments that had been shattered by the bullet. Now, I'm stuck on a cocktail of painkillers, Percocet, which seems to be barely doing the trick, and an upcoming appointment to have pins inserted into my mangled hand looms on the horizon. Edit. Please be extremely cautious when handling firearms. Always ensure they're unloaded and in a secure location when not in use. If you or someone you know has experienced a similar incident, please seek My Dad Defends Syrian Refugees. My dad was telling me about how the old guys in his coffee group were talking trash about Syrian refugees and how Canada shouldn't allow them into the country. He asked the guys how many of them came to Canada from somewhere else. All of them, Standing up for those in need, my dad makes a statement. My father shared with me a conversation he had with his fellow coffee club members, who expressed strong sentiments against Syrian refugees and their potential entry into Canada. He then posed a simple yet thought-provoking question: how many of these people migrated to Canada from somewhere else? His point was clear: we should provide refugees with an opportunity to rebuild their lives, rather than dismissing them out of hand. I couldn't be prouder of my dad, who at the age of 76, exemplifies the very qualities of an open-minded and compassionate individual. His unwavering willingness to challenge prevailing opinions is truly admirable. Edit. I did not make any modifications to this text, as there were no sections titled Update or TLDR to keep intact. What are some small acts of love or intimacy that you give to your partner throughout the day? F28 and AMP, M30. I'm, F28, trying to broaden these little acts with my boyfriend, M30, of almost 3 years. About a month ago his work schedule changed and not long after we both got the flu. Exploring the subtle touches of love in a relationship as a couple of almost 3 years, my boyfriend, M30, and I, F28, have been focusing on rebuilding our connection after a challenging few weeks. A month ago, his work schedule changed, and we both contracted the flu, leaving us exhausted and disconnected. In an effort to bridge this gap, I'm eager to discover new ways to show affection and intimacy in our daily lives. I've been reflecting on the small gestures that bring us closer together and would love to hear from others about the little acts of love and intimacy they share with their partners. What are some daily expressions of affection and closeness that you find particularly meaningful in your relationship? Well, what the hell would you have done? When I was in 4th grade, there was a kid that always picked on me. At one point he started sneaking into the boys' room after me, and he would come up behind me and try to push me over while I was using the urinal. It was annoying. A rather disturbing and unfortunate period of my childhood still lingers in my memory. Back in 4th grade, I had to endure the relentless bullying of a classmate. It reached a particularly deplorable level when he started to sneak into the boys' restroom after me, attempting to catch me off guard and push me over while I was using the urinal. This was an extremely frustrating, humiliating, and sometimes messy experience. In an effort to protect myself from his unwanted advances, I began to be more aware of my surroundings. I started paying close attention to any potential threats lurking nearby. One fateful day, I managed to anticipate his sneaky approach from the corner of my eye. As he prepared to push me, I swiftly turned around and responded in the most unexpected way. I urinated all over him. Following this incident, my tormentor never bothered me again. I bought a pin about having an ed and my friend got upset the other day. I was at a shop that sold pins with my friend. I decided to buy a pin that says, "I have an eating disorder," on it, and he asked why I wanted it, and I said I wanted it because I have an eating disorder, ARF. I recently found myself in a situation that left my friend feeling uneasy, and I'm not sure where I went wrong. While browsing through a shop with my friend, I came across a pin that resonated with me. The pin had the phrase, "I have an eating disorder," printed on it, which I thought was a powerful way to raise awareness about something that I, personally, struggle with: avoidant, restrictive food intake disorder, ARFID. When my friend asked why I was drawn to the pin, I openly shared with him that I have ARFID. I explained that, to me, having an eating disorder is not just about picky eating, but a deeply ingrained mental health issue that has greatly impacted my life. My friend's reaction caught me off guard, as he appeared to be taken aback by my words. He eventually revealed that he had previously struggled with anorexia for 2 years, and I realized that I had unintentionally triggered a sensitive memory for him. He felt that my casual approach to discussing my eating disorder was insensitive, given his own experiences. I now wonder if my actions were thoughtless and insensitive, and I would love to hear your perspective on the situation. Am I the one who caused harm? I hate kissing. All my 22F friends talk about kissing and making out with their partners and how they love it, and it absolutely baffles me. There was one guy that I liked giving a peck on the lips in my entire 8 years of dating. I enjoy head kisses, but if a guy comes in for, I'm not a fan of prolonged lip locks. As a 22-year-old woman, I find myself often at odds with my peers when it comes to the topic of kissing. While my friends rave about passionate makeouts with their partners, I'm left scratching my head in confusion. Throughout my 8 years of dating, there's only been one occasion where I felt comfortable with a brief peck on the lips. However, when it comes to longer, more intimate kisses, I experience a growing sense of unease. My friends often tease me about this, claiming I'm crazy, but the truth is, I just don't enjoy the sensation. Whenever a partner tries to initiate a prolonged lip lock, I'm instantly on edge. My stomach begins to twist with anxiety, and I find myself counting down the seconds until it's over. It's almost as if I'm trapped in a nightmare from which I desperately want to awaken. My friends just can't seem to understand why I don't share their enthusiasm for kissing, but I'm hoping I'm not the only one who feels this way. Edit. I do enjoy engaging in intimacy with my partners, and it's not a matter of germophobia, as I'm perfectly fine with certain aspects of my algebra teacher patted me on the back and told me to have a nice weekend, and now I'm crying. He doesn't even know me that well and our relationship is strictly professional, but he still did it. He wasn't paid to do it, but he still did it. Maybe he noticed that I was a bit A gesture from my algebra teacher caught me off guard. He gave me a gentle pat on the back and sent me off with wishes for a pleasant weekend. The irony is that his actions now leave me in tears. Although he doesn't truly know me beyond our academic relationship, the sincerity behind his gesture still touched me. His unrequired kindness speaks volumes about the genuine concern he has for his students' well-being. Perhaps he noticed my subdued demeanor and chose to break the ice. Whatever the reason, it's clear that he took the time to notice me and show compassion. As I reflect on the event, I'm filled with gratitude that someone in my life is willing to extend themselves in such a way. His actions remind me that kindness is possible, even in unexpected places. I believe I will, in fact, have a nice weekend, a sense of appreciation and gratitude guiding my thoughts rather than his words. They killed my dog and still tried to claim the reward for her. I'm broken, just completely lost. I know we live in a fucked up world, but never have I imagined someone being this sick. 2 weeks my dog Hilda ran away. We put up posters, flyers, posted on Facebook, and I was praying. A brutal act has left me shattered and searching for solace. My dog Hilda had been missing for 2 weeks, and in our desperate attempts to locate her, we distributed posters, created flyers, and reached out to friends on social media. 2 days ago, a caller claimed to have found her, but the news was devastating: she had been killed. According to the caller, they initially mistook her for a raccoon and shot her. It's now being suggested that they will hand over her remains in exchange for the $150 reward. I am overcome with grief and a deep sense of disgust. The thought of someone taking a life and then attempting to profit from it is unconscionable. I can only imagine the pain and suffering they must have caused, not just to me but to Hilda as well. I'm finding it hard to come to terms with this senseless act, and the cruelty that has been inflicted upon my family. I stopped my husband from committing suicide and he thinks I never knew his plans. My husband and I are 28. We have 3 kids. He's the only boyfriend I've ever had. He's been with me since high school. He's always had low self-esteem. I do too, but not like he does. 1. My world nearly came crashing down when I discovered my husband was struggling with suicidal thoughts. We've been together since high school, and I've always known him to be a loving father to our 3 children. His low self-esteem has been a recurring issue, and I've often found myself battling with it as well. Around 7 years ago, when we got new phones, I stumbled upon the ability to read his texts. I didn't realize the extent of my discovery until I started snooping around his messages during special occasions like birthdays and holidays. My curiosity got the better of me, and I'd occasionally peek into his conversations to see if there were any hints about what he might be seeking. During my pregnancy with our 2nd child, I was browsing through his texts again, looking for gift ideas for Christmas. What I found shocked me to the core. He was secretly buying substances that could potentially take his life. I was horrified, realizing that this might be an ongoing issue for a long time. It dawned on me that I may not have known my husband as well as I thought I did. I frantically searched our home, but he had managed to keep everything hidden. It wasn't until I checked his search history and emails that I discovered his plans. He TIFU for sending him a video of me deep-throating a dildo. So lately I've been seeing someone who lives far away, 13-hour drive. We talk every day over text, phone calls, but I have only met him twice in real life. Most of our conversations are sexual. He knows I have AD. I made a fool of myself by sending a compromising video to someone I've been getting close to. Recently, I've been romantically involved with someone who lives far away. We maintain a regular connection through daily texts and phone calls, despite only meeting in person twice. The majority of our conversations revolve around intimate topics, and my partner is aware of my fondness for deep throat kinks. He requested a video of me engaging in this activity, explaining that he wanted something to stimulate him and asked me to make it quick. However, this instruction made me prioritize speed over technique, resulting in a subpar recording. The angle and positioning weren't ideal, and I didn't focus on making it visually appealing. To be honest, the video didn't turn out well. It was more like a clumsy, unflattering depiction of gagging on a dildo. I'm not proud of how it looked, and it definitely didn't capture the elegance often portrayed in adult content, which features multiple takes and professional camera work. Despite my reservations, I decided to send the video to him anyway. Unfortunately, he wasn't enthusiastic about it, and our conversation came to an abrupt end. Given his usual chattiness, this abrupt change in behavior suggests that my actions don't ask an owner-operator for his boss's phone number. So I drive an 18-wheeler. Not only that, but I own my truck and my business. One day while coming into Laredo, Texas, I was in the turning lane for my exit and this car whips out in front of me. Not really having enough, don't even think about asking an owner-operator for their boss's number. As a proud owner-operator of an 18-wheeler and my own business, I've learned to handle my fair share of difficult situations on the road. One such incident took place while I was approaching Laredo, Texas. A car suddenly cut in front of me, and I was forced to veer onto the shoulder to avoid a collision. The driver, seemingly oblivious to the commotion, proceeded to take pictures of my truck and license plate. When the traffic light turned green, I gave him a few short horn honks to signal for him to move along. However, instead of leaving me be, the driver became agitated and started banging on my door. He claimed that the loud air horn had damaged his hearing and demanded that I give him my boss's phone number and driver's license number so he could report me and lose my job. He even parked his car so close to my bumper that I couldn't maneuver around him. I chuckled to myself when he asked for my boss's number, suggesting that my boss was a short-tempered individual who wouldn't take kindly to this situation. I offered to give him my cell phone number instead, which he promptly AITA for refusing to lift something heavy for a woman as a man. I was asked by a female coworker to lift something heavy in the kitchen while I was working at my desk, but when I got to the kitchen, it was filled with other women having a conversation during working hours. Was I out of line for not lifting something heavy for a coworker? I was sitting at my desk working on a task when a female colleague asked me to lift a heavy object in the kitchen, but when I went to investigate, I found a group of women chatting in the break room. I was taken aback that she would ask me, the nearest available man, to lift something heavy for her while she was with others. Feeling a bit miffed, I politely declined her request. The women in the break room were visibly taken aback by my response, and some seemed to think I was joking, so I reiterated my refusal. Eventually, one of the women intervened and lifted the object with ease, which I thought was the obvious solution in the first place. Am I in the wrong? Edit. To clarify, the women in the break room were not on official breaks. They were just taking a moment to chat over coffee since there are no designated break times in our workplace. I was working on a task at my desk when I was asked to lift the object. Edit 2. At the time, I was asked to lift something in the break room, and I assumed it was a package or a light item. I didn't know AITA for telling my kids what their grandfather did to me. I've been with my husband since high school and his dad has always made me uncomfortable. Phil adores, borderline worships, his wife and is very cold to everyone else. I always thought the family dynamic was a bit weird. Was I in the wrong for sharing my past with my kids about their grandfather's behavior towards me? I've been married to my husband since high school, and his father has always left a bad impression on me. His father has an unwavering admiration for his wife, bordering on obsession, and is extremely cold towards everyone else. I've always found the family dynamic peculiar, but everyone else has been kind. His mother is a bit of a mystery to me, but I love her siblings. When my husband and I became pregnant right after high school, we needed financial support. Around the same time, his mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and his father was heartbroken. He effectively isolated himself from everyone except her. His wife has always been vain, and losing her hair sent her into a nervous breakdown. Despite her wealth, she opted for high-quality wigs, and it was difficult for her to cope. I, too, have long blonde hair, which eerily resembled hers. Unfortunately, my appearance seemed to trigger her insecurity, and her husband demanded that I cut off my hair. I refused, but he eventually took matters into his own hands, cutting it off with scissors. The result was unflattering, and I was taken aback by his AITA for going on a hunger strike so my husband would see a doctor. I can't believe I am making this post. My husband and I have known each other for about 15 years. He's always had this really bad pain in his back, but he's tolerated and been relatively fine, until now. Holding my ground. Was I right to go on a hunger strike to get my husband medical help? I'm still trying to wrap my head around this situation. It's been 15 years since my husband and I met, and in that time, he's always dealt with chronic back pain. However, it's recently escalated to the point where he can't even stand for more than an hour without needing to collapse in agony. Despite my persistent pleas to take him to the hospital, he refused to budge. His entire family, including our kids, his parents, and I, begged him to get medical attention, but he simply wouldn't listen. It's been 15 years of me trying to convince him to seek help, but he's been stubborn and insistent that he's fine. Desperate and concerned for his well-being, I took matters into my own hands. At the beginning of the month, I started a hunger strike, telling him that I wouldn't eat until he agreed to see a doctor. I knew it was an extreme measure, but I felt like it was my only option. It took him nearly 2 weeks to cave in, but eventually, he went to the hospital. Although he was initially resistant to my actions, I'm glad that's still on mobile, so again I apologize for the formatting. Also, thank you for all the advice and support. You guys really helped me make an informed decision. I left out some details intentionally because thinking the aftermath of a nightmare roommate. I'm writing this from my phone, and I apologize for any formatting issues. I'm grateful for the advice and support I've received so far, which has helped me make an informed decision. There are some disturbing details I left out initially, partly because thinking about them was too distressing, and I was in denial. Our roommate, Taylor, had entered my private spaces without my consent, rummaging through my nightstand and laundry hamper. This was a clear invasion of my personal boundaries. As I move on to the update, Taylor has denied everything despite having video evidence to the contrary. He has attempted to downplay and justify his actions, claiming he was simply looking around or doesn't remember entering our room. When confronted, Taylor refused to take responsibility, suggesting we had no authority to ask him to leave and that showing him the videos was blackmail. Since he was on the lease, we didn't have a clear path forward without taking legal action. We decided to take matters into our own hands, starting by looking for a new place to live, consulting with a lawyer, filing a police report, and planning to file for a restraining order. However, every day was a struggle, filled with anxiety and fear at AITA for, rudely, inviting my sil to leave and get some therapy for the way she kept talking about my child. Using a new account, hoping her sister doesn't find this because I know she's on Reddit. My wife's, 32F, younger sister, 24F, is in college in our area. Am I the asshole for telling my sister-in-law to leave and seek therapy for her behavior around my child? My wife's younger sister, a 24-year-old college student, is staying with us temporarily while she looks for a new place to live. I'm not particularly fond of her, and her behavior has been a constant source of frustration. She's always been somewhat spoiled, but what really bothers me is her attitude towards our 10-month-old son. She seems to have an unhealthy obsession with children and her own decision not to have them. Anytime the subject of my son comes up, she finds a way to make it about herself and her child-free lifestyle. I've witnessed her complaining about the noise our son makes, calling him annoying and needy, and even making gagging noises when we're feeding him. To make matters worse, she often makes snide comments about my son's existence, suggesting that we should have aborted him. Her behavior is not only hurtful but also toxic. I feel like she's trying to poison our home with her negativity. I've had enough of her constant rants and complaints, especially when she's eating our food for free. So, I finally snapped at her, telling her that I AITA for calling the police on my kid. Daughter is 16. Her mom and I are divorced. Daughter has been caught smoking pot several times from the age of 14. Her mom and I have collectively punished her several times for this. The last time we caught her, I started drug testing her. Am I the asshole for calling the authorities on my 16-year-old daughter? My daughter is 16, and her mom and I have been divorced for some time. Throughout her teenage years, she has consistently engaged in marijuana use, with her mom and I having punished her multiple times for this behavior. Recently, I began administering regular drug tests to ensure her safety and to prevent further instances of substance abuse. As a standard maintenance task, I occasionally enter her room to reset the router, which is located there. During one such visit, I discovered a mysterious object hidden under her desk, a spore print for magic mushrooms. Upon further investigation, I found a small aquarium containing an abundance of mushrooms concealed in the back of her walk-in closet. Given the gravity of the situation, I waited for her to return from school and then contacted the police. As a result, she was arrested, booked, and released into her mother's custody. Her mother is now outraged, claiming that I may have irreparably damaged my daughter's life for no reason, but we have consistently attempted to address her substance abuse issues without success. Instead, the situation has escalated, and she will now face the consequences of her actions in court. I have received criticism from my own parents, AITA for yelling at my nephews until they cried and had to leave. My son recently died. I have not moved his stuff other than keeping it clean. I usually leave the door to his room closed. I pick up and babysit my two nephews for around an hour on weekdays, since their mom, Was I wrong to lose my temper with my nephews? My life has been difficult since my son's passing. I've kept his belongings organized but untouched, aside from occasional cleaning. His room is usually left shut. I regularly pick up and care for my two nephews for about an hour on weekdays since their mom is often late finishing work. They are 11 and 13, and usually behave well, often engaging in their own activities or even assisting with household chores. Last Friday, I was preparing a strong-smelling soup and decided to ventilate the entire house by opening all the windows and doors. In retrospect, I should have left my son's room shut, but out of habit, I opened it. When their mom came to pick them up, I went to collect them and found them playing with my son's guitar. The older one was tampering with the string screws while the younger one was plucking at the strings. I became extremely upset and shouted at them, which is out of character for me. I told them, "What are you doing? Drop that immediately. Why are you even in his room? Get out. You're never allowed in here again." By then, they were crying, and I pulled the guitar away. Their mother, "You can be part of a marginalized group that deserves to be treated equally and still be a toxic person that should be held accountable for it on an individual basis." I say this as a black gay man. Some of the most toxic, underhanded, backstabbing people I've met have been Individuals can be members of marginalized groups yet still exhibit toxic behavior, and it's essential to address their actions without making excuses for it based on their background. As a black gay man, I've encountered numerous instances of toxic behavior from people of various backgrounds, including female, black, Hispanic, gay, bi, trans, non-binary, and others. It's crucial to acknowledge that toxicity isn't exclusive to any particular group. Moreover, I've noticed that some individuals tend to justify bad behavior by citing their marginalized status. However, this is unacceptable. Toxic behavior has nothing to do with one's background or identity, it's a result of their personality. It's essential to hold individuals accountable for their actions, rather than making excuses for their behavior. I'm tired of the notion that marginalized individuals can't be held to the same standards as others. It's a false narrative, and it's time to stop making excuses. That's all I have to say. Edit. It's disheartening to see people labeling me as a white supremacist or Trump supporter simply because I hold an opinion that differs from their expectations. They assume that a black gay man can't love and appreciate themselves, or that I wouldn't be capable of forming my own opinions. I'd like to AITA for asking my parents to reimburse me for the money I wasted getting a diagnosis I already had, because they withheld my medical information from me. I recently spent $2,300 out of pocket getting assessed for autism and ADHD at the suggestion of my psychologist. I was dying. Am I the asshole for asking my parents to compensate me for the money I spent getting diagnosed with autism and ADHD, which they had already known about but withheld from me? Recently, I spent $2,300 of my own money on a medical assessment, which my psychologist suggested I undergo. The results showed that I had both autism and ADHD. While the diagnosis has provided me with long-term benefits such as financial assistance and academic accommodations, it put a significant strain on my finances. When I shared the news with my parents, they claimed it was unnecessary as I had been diagnosed with both conditions at the age of 6. They revealed that they had intentionally kept this information from me and others, allegedly to protect me from feelings of difference and potential prejudice. However, this concealment of my own medical information ultimately led to me seeking out the diagnosis myself. I asked my parents to reimburse me for the money I spent on the assessment, as their decision to withhold my diagnosis from me directly contributed to the financial burden. If they had disclosed this information to me earlier, I would have been able to access the necessary accommodations and support from the beginning of my university studies, which would have made my experience much smoother. However, my family is now upset with me for requesting reimbursement, deeming AITA for putting dinner away and playing video games after my girlfriend came home drunk. My GF and I live together. I am 29 and she is 26. We've lived together for 6 months. I have been very busy at work and with life, so yesterday I was really looking forward to cooking dinner. Was I in the wrong for cooking dinner and playing video games after my girlfriend arrived home intoxicated? My girlfriend and I reside together. I'm 29, and she's 26. We have been cohabiting for 6 months. I've been preoccupied with work and life, so yesterday I was eagerly looking forward to preparing dinner for us and unwinding. We had this scheduled all weekend. My girlfriend tends to be more social than I am, so she had plans with her friends yesterday morning, which included brunch at 11. I anticipated that she would have a couple of drinks but nothing excessive. However, brunch soon escalated into a visit to another bar, followed by multiple other bars. By the way she was communicating, I could tell she was intoxicated. Despite her assurances that she would be home in time for dinner, I noticed on her social media that she was doing shots at a different location in the city. I decided not to address the situation, as I didn't want to be the boyfriend who constantly nags. At 6:30 p.m., she still hadn't arrived home. I observed her location on my phone and noticed that she was now at a different bar. I decided to eat and asked my friends if they wanted to play video games with AITA, possibly overreacting at my wife's mistake by leaving the house for a week. I know relationship posts aren't allowed here, so I want to keep this focused to the incident at hand. So please don't give any relationship advice. Okay, so I am a big fan of Seinfeld as I used. Are you the a-hole for overreacting to your wife's mistake of selling your sentimental Seinfeld poster? I want to clarify that I'll keep the discussion focused on this specific incident and not provide any relationship advice. I'm a huge fan of Seinfeld and used to watch it daily with my dad. He actually got a signed poster of the 4 main characters, Jerry, Kramer, Costanza, and Elaine, as a special gift for my 21st birthday, which he went out of his way to obtain. That poster holds immense sentimental value because it's a cherished memory of the quality time my dad and I shared, despite his personal struggles. Now, my wife and I are working to save up for our kids' college fund by selling items we no longer need. When I arrived home from an extended business trip, my poster was missing. I asked my wife where it was, and she claimed she sold it on eBay, thinking it was just a simple poster and didn't consider its sentimental value to me. However, I find it suspicious that she was unhappy about my business trip. She tried to stop me from going because she couldn't accompany me, but I had to attend due to professional obligations. Now, upon my return, if I don't like it I can find another job? Okay, I think this qualifies. I worked at a small shop serving an electrical apprenticeship. Myself and the shop manager had a few run-ins and I assume he disliked me as much as I disliked him. I had refused to do a job and a potential way out. I could have found another job. I sometimes wonder if this situation was truly a turning point. At the time, I was working in a small shop as part of an electrical apprenticeship program. My relationship with the shop manager was strained, and I assumed he wasn't a fan of mine either. A particular incident stood out. I had refused to complete a task at the stockyards due to concerns about the safety gear in my pay. The task involved wearing waders and crawling into a raw fat reclamation tank to replace a submersible pump, which didn't sit well with me. Another instance where our disagreement became apparent was when he asked me to mislead a customer about the issue they were facing. I chose not to cooperate and suggested that if he wanted to lie, he should handle it himself. The situation escalated, but I managed to maintain my ground. Despite our differences, the shop manager didn't fire me, and I suspected that it was due to my exceptional efficiency and versatility as an employee. This realization led me to question the value of this apprenticeship and passively explore other opportunities. My salary structure was structured, with regular raises that brought me closer to the journeyman's level over time. However, to complete my apprentice's Kavina Karen wants to use the shoulder lane to escape traffic. I dared her. This happened just a few hours ago. I was driving a semi on a highway when the traffic suddenly became bumper to bumper on a 2-lane due to an accident a couple miles ahead. Everybody was creeping and I recently found myself in a rather intense situation on the highway. It happened just a short while ago. I was driving a semi on a highway when the traffic suddenly ground to a halt due to an accident a few miles ahead. Everyone was creeping, and I was stuck in the right lane. That's when I saw a car on my right, passing me on the shoulder. There weren't even any exits nearby, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I immediately blocked them by drifting slightly onto the shoulder, taking up both lanes. I received a few angry honks, but I didn't let it faze me. If we're all stuck in traffic, we should all be following the same rules. The shoulder isn't for passing, it's for emergency vehicles. I decided to stay put, as long as I didn't see any flashing lights behind me. A few hundred feet ahead, I spotted an idle police cruiser on the shoulder. Assuming no one would dare use the shoulder now, I merged back into my lane. Sure enough, the shoulder was empty. But that wasn't the end of the story. As I was still crawling along, I heard a woman's voice on my left side, honking repeatedly and yelling at me. I rolled AITA for being so upset with my bridesmaid's behavior on my wedding day. Throwaway. I got married 2 weekends ago. I asked my 3 best friends Anna, Kelly and Laura to be my bridesmaids 2 years before the wedding and found them very helpful when planning. For the morning was I being too selfish for being upset with my bridesmaid's behavior on my wedding day? Throwaway. I recently got married and 2 years prior, I asked my closest friends, Anna, Kelly, and Laura, to be my bridesmaids. They were incredibly supportive throughout the planning process. For my wedding day, I rented a luxurious penthouse apartment for myself and the bridesmaids to get ready in, where we would enjoy champagne. However, when Laura was offered a glass, she declined, revealing she was expecting a child. While I was delighted for her, her announcement drew attention away from my wedding preparations, which had taken years to plan. As the day progressed, we all got ready and headed to the venue. During a photo shoot outside, the photographer asked us to pose. Laura, who has a vibrant personality, chose to place her bouquet on the ground and instead cradled her stomach, drawing unnecessary attention to herself. When the photographer asked her to pick up her flowers, she refused, insisting on maintaining this awkward pose. The rest of the day went smoothly until it was time for the speeches. As Laura is my oldest friend, I naturally asked her to share a few words. In her speech, she concluded by announcing that she